is Kat right next to me, so if you see her walking around the couch, that's why. In November of 2019, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I had never really seen any thorough symptoms of it yet. The only thing that I was really seeing was just like little pieces of common symptoms for manic periods of time, but I was a little bit confused about that diagnosis at first because I didn't really see much of it in how I live quite yet. Come 2020, the world was consumed by a pandemic and we all went into quarantine in the US. And in the process, I discovered that yes, I do have bipolar disorder because I went into one of the deepest depressive states that I think I've ever been in. It was probably the worst my mental health has been in years. I actually don't think I ever remember having a point of being so mentally unstable since elementary school. And I forgot what it was like, and it took me so long to piece myself back together again and to learn how to function and take care of myself again. I'm not gonna get too deep into the specifics because that's not what this video is about, but I'll tell you some of the things that I learned and the ways that I'm now keeping myself in check that have brought me out of that state and have now brought me into a state of peace and being able to better myself and being able to be better for those around me and for my work. I do want to start off by saying that I am somebody who is incredibly adamant about self-progress and self-love and bettering yourselves for yourself. To start off with, I think the really big part of this that triggered that depressive episode for me was a huge fight that happened between me and two of my best friends at the time. I ended up losing both of them, but one of them I am friends with again because she actually ended up reaching out to me to try to piece things back together again, which was very nice of her. But one of them I have never talked to since, and it was on terrible terms, and I was so upset because I felt like it was my fault when it really wasn't. Shortly after that, I got in a similar fight with probably my best friend in the entire world other than my fiance, and I almost lost her too. But that was the moment when I realized that I needed to change and I wanted to change because I didn't want to lose anyone else, and I didn't want to continue to be the person I was who was causing issues with my best friends. So this was the point where I decided to teach myself that, one, I'm not always right. I need to be somebody who is open to learning new things and changing my opinions. And two, I need to be understanding that I'm not somebody who knows everything. And there are definitely times when I need to know that I'm not right and that I need to know that that's okay and I don't need to be right all the time. So at this point in time, I reached out to my friends and my family and my fiance as well, and I took the time to ask them to help me with this. I think the most helpful part of this for me was that in discussing this with my fiance, who is somebody who I feel like sometimes knows me better than I know me, because he always knows when I'm fixating, he knows when I'm spiraling, he knows how I socialize when a lot of other people don't because of my autism. And so if I ever need to understand something that somebody's saying that I don't, I can brush it across to him and he can always help me understand it better. And vice versa. If somebody can't understand what I'm saying because I socialize differently than another person, he'll step in and try to help people understand what I'm saying, which I'm incredibly grateful for, and I'm incredibly grateful to have support like that in my life. After this fight and after we went into quarantine, which for me being in Colorado was March 18th, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And then we continued to be in quarantine until the day that I went back to work, which was June 5th. And so that was a good, let's see, 1, 2, 3 months in quarantine, which was a lot. I wasn't really leaving the house. I wasn't really talking to a lot of people. And I was just in such a terrible state, and I don't know if it was just the first depressive episode that I've ever had as somebody with bipolar, or if it was triggered by something. I don't know. But here are the things that I did in order to better myself and to feel better. Right before the pandemic, I started seeing a new psychiatrist, which was incredibly helpful, and that's how I got diagnosed with bipolar. And he had been such an incredible help for me, and he still is, but I'm definitely in a much more stable position right now, so I definitely don't lean on him as much as I was. But in this time, I started all new medication, and I'm not going to go into medication because you will never, ever, ever see me on social media or in real life recommending medication. I'm not that person. Medication works really well for me, and it's something that I need to stay stable and to live comfortably, and that is how it works for me, and that is okay. But it doesn't work for everybody, and a lot of people don't want to take it. So you will never, ever, ever see me recommend it or promote it in my social media platforms. I do want to be transparent in saying that I do take medication, but you will never see me promote it. So not happening. The other thing that I started in this period of time that actually my sister recommended to me and has been so beneficial to me, I cannot even tell you, is meditation. I was raised Buddhist, and I used to do meditation a lot as a kid, but I never really hooked onto it just because nobody ever really taught me how to meditate. Like, I think we all know like that you're supposed to like sit on the floor, close your eyes, breathe, stuff like that, but like we don't tend to know the purpose or the goals of meditation. And so my sister recommended me Headspace, and this is not sponsored. I know that they have ads all over the place on social media, but I pay for it with my own money. I love Headspace. I've tried many meditation apps in the past, and most of them that I've tried, other than Headspace, don't teach you the goals of meditation. They don't teach you why you're meditating, because it's not pushing thoughts out of your brain. It's learning and training your brain to be able to be aware of them and let them pass instead of fixating on them. And a lot of times when we're trying to push that kind of stuff out of our brains and forget about it or anything like that, like just trying to push it out of your brain and not think about it makes it worse. And that's not the goal of meditation. And so being able to take these courses on Headspace has been honestly life-changing. And I meditate every single day now for at least 20 minutes, typically right before I go to bed, which has been incredibly helpful. And if there's any one thing that I would highly recommend for mental health, it is meditation. There's also a lot of really cool studies that talk about what kind of effects meditation has specifically on your brain, which is really cool. I highly recommend deep diving into that because I've read about it and it is super, super cool. So highly recommend. The other thing that I changed that really helped me, and I know it's not going to be a problem for everyone, but a lot of people have this problem when you're in a really deep mental health pit, is that I set myself a sleep schedule because I was sleeping until like 3 p.m. and I was going to bed at like 4. So that of course was not good. I was sleeping for like 12 hours a day, and then in the middle of the day I would take a nap because I was so tired and I just was not having a good sleep schedule. I was sleeping the vast majority of my days, like including the nap, I was probably sleeping something like 19 hours a day, maybe less or longer depending on the day. It was not good. So I ended up switching my sleep schedule from going to bed at 11 p.m. and waking up at 7:30. And I do not ever change that. When I wake up, it's typically like a wiggle room of about an hour, so I can wake up anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30, and that's like my set wake up time. I don't change that. And then I always go to bed around 11 to 11:30. But most days I actually crash at about 7, so I end up going to bed earlier than 11. But being able to have a sleep schedule in which I have the whole day awake and being able to do stuff is wonderful. So I am very happy to kind of be an early bird now, and I love being able to have the vast majority of my day to do whatever I want. The other thing is that before the pandemic and during the first couple of months of quarantine, I lived in my basement, and my basement was very dark and secluded and honestly not great for my mental health. I didn't realize this until we decided to move me upstairs into our guest bedroom, which was tiny, and I could not fit all my stuff in there, so a lot of it is actually still in the basement, but I felt so much better being up there, and it actually helped my sleep a lot because it's really hard to wake up when you're in a bedroom that is mostly dark all day long. The other thing that I started doing in the middle of quarantine again, after having a good year or two of being kind of in a weird relationship with makeup, was that I started sitting down every day and just putting makeup on, even if I wasn't going out, and I still do it today. I wear makeup almost every single day because I genuinely enjoy putting it on. It's just a nice time to either like put on some music, a podcast, some Netflix, something like that, or talk with a friend while I'm just putting makeup on my face and just playing. It's such a nice experience to be able to just apply makeup and be comfortable and be occupied in something that I really enjoyed doing. And I remember at the very beginning of quarantine, I made a video on my second channel, which is my cosmetics channel, skincare specifically, that I had fallen out of love with makeup and I wasn't gonna do makeup anymore. And that's completely changed. I really have fallen back in love with makeup and I'm super happy about it. And then for those of you guys who also don't follow my skincare channel, I did really fall in love with skincare during the pandemic, which was awesome. And I am very happy to be at a point where I have this routine that I follow in the morning and a wind down routine that involves my skincare routine at night, because that really helps me sleep and of course wind down and keep myself centered. When I came back to work after quarantine, for some reason, just after everything that happened with my mental health, I was so inspired to be the best person at my job that I could possibly be. And I definitely feel like I've reached that point. I feel so good in the position that I'm in. And honestly and truly, I'm really thankful that I had to go through quarantine because it changed my life and it changed the way I see myself and it changed the way that I treat myself, and it made me realize who around me are worth being with. So I just learned to fill my life with the people that are just here to support me and love me and not treat me like crap like a lot of my friends were treating me. And I am so grateful to have had the support from my family and my fiance and my friends and my neighbors. It was wonderful, and my coworkers too. My coworkers and I would have Zoom calls every week to sit down and play games with each other and sit and talk for like an hour every week, and that was so helpful for me to be able to keep in touch with these people because I don't have a single person at work that I don't like. I'm incredibly grateful to be at a job in which I love everybody and I love the people that I work with. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Self-care is really important, and especially right now in the middle of a pandemic, I want you to know that there are ways for you to take care of yourself in any situation that life throws you. You have people around you that love you and care about you, and there are so many things in life that can guide you to a better state of being. I have learned that a lot during quarantine, and I'm extremely grateful to have gone through it, and I'm extremely grateful and proud of the person that I've become today. Quarantine and this pandemic and 2020 in general has honestly changed my life, and most of it's for the better. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.